The bond election is set for April 6, 2021. Should it pass, funds would be available in the summer of 2021, and the implementation of the one-to-one initiative, as well as the ordering of instructional materials and repairs to existing facilities, could begin as early as the late summer or early fall of 2021. We are, however, subject to supply and demand, which could push the implementation of the one-to-one farther into the fall. But the goal would be to begin the initiative on the first day of school in August. Currently, the millage rate, or tax rate target, is set at 28 mills, but that rate is offset by the level of growth in the community and is currently at 26.49 mills. Since Mustang has been and continues to grow, that rate has only reached 28 mills, or the target rate, one time since 2009. This bond would raise the millage target to 30 from 28, but would also continue to be offset by our growth. In its simplest terms, if this bond were to pass, and if the millage target of 30 was to be reached, the impact would be $1.83 per month on each $100,000 of home value. When comparing with similar districts across the state, Mustang falls well below others in the metro, and even at a rate of 30 mills would barely bring the district to the middle of the pack. We would still be behind those such as Newcastle, Deer Creek, Piedmont, Yukon, Jinx, Broken Arrow, and more. The 2020 bond was developed pre-pandemic, and once our new realities were revealed, it was scrapped in favor of this new proposal. The old bond was a lease revenue bond, while the April 6, 2021 bond is a GO bond. The short explanation is that a lease revenue bond is a big bond where a lot of money is available up front and is then paid off over time. However, a GO bond, on the other hand, is a shorter term bond meant to address critical needs, mainly instructional in this instance. This bond issue was planned and voted on prior to the latest round of federal funding and was not foreseen at the time of planning. However, these COVID funds are meant to offset the unforeseen expenses that districts incurred as a result of the measures enacted to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Essentially, the funds allowed Mustang Public Schools to break even and not be in a financial loss as a result of the pandemic. Despite this, MPS is still operating at a $3.5 million deficit over prior years. So how were the federal COVID funds spent? The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, Economic Act, or CARES Act, and the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, or ESSER Fund, as well as the CARES Act Incentive Grant, were spent on technology such as Canvas and Seesaw, personal protective equipment, and other measures to prepare MPS to educate during the pandemic. It's important to note that these were reimbursement funds. Mustang Public Schools had to spend money on the front end only to be reimbursed by these funds. At the time of publication, again, we are still operating at a $3.5 million deficit over prior years as a result of the spending to combat the pandemic. There are three separate millage categories that are specific to Mustang Public Schools. They are the General Fund, the Building Fund, and the Sinking Fund. The General Fund millage funds the school district's general fund, which is used for staff salaries, instructional materials, and related instructional items. 92% of all general fund monies goes to pay staff salaries for the district. The Building Fund millage is used to fund our building fund, which is almost entirely used for utility costs for our sites. The Sinking Fund goes to repay our bonded indebtedness from bond issues. The General Fund and Building Fund amounts are set by state statute at 35 mills and 5 mills respectively. In 1998, the state voted to do away with the household personal property tax, but left it up to each county if they chose to vote it out. Canadian County voted to do away with the household personal property tax. Because schools and other entities relied on that tax money, the law allowed for counties that eliminated the household personal property tax to set up a factor that would help offset the lost tax money for schools. Canadian County's factor was set at the county level at 1.0373. When you multiply this factor by 35 and by 5, those are the numbers that you will see on your property tax bill, which is the total 36.31 for general fund and 5.19 for building fund. Those counties that did not vote to eliminate the personal household property tax had to comply with the 5 or less for the building fund. Some students lack the necessary infrastructure or access to technology that is afforded their peers. Most schools have adopted a one-to-one program to address this by providing one device for every one student. Mustang has been forced to focus resources to address the rapid growth of the community, but are finally in the position to address this critical need. Technology creates an experience that solidifies learning and helps students to solve problems we have even yet to imagine. One-to-one reinforces the 21st century skills necessary to compete in today's world and to prepare for what lies ahead. Textbooks, even if they are electronic and on devices, will continue to be a part of the education system for the foreseeable future, and funds will be necessary to stay current. The 2017 bond that was passed by voters provided some funds for textbooks, but with a nod to future bonds providing more funds for textbooks. Although there is no big bond on the horizon, this would allow us to take care of existing needs and keep up with the state of Oklahoma textbook adoption cycle. Additionally, this bond would allow $250,000 to provide for program-specific needs for fine arts and for athletics. These funds would be used to replace aging instruments and/or equipment in both areas at all levels from pre-K through high school. This would address immediate and emergency needs only for these student programs. Operational dollars would be available for projects throughout the district. Parking would be mainly at Mustang High School, but there are paving projects throughout the 73 square miles of Mustang Public Schools that would be addressed through these bond funds. As for HVAC, the upgrades and repairs at Mustang High School and Mustang Middle School would be included, as well as at other sites throughout Mustang Public Schools. Classroom renovations would focus on our special needs classrooms and updating the facilities to serve the students who would benefit from these programs. With the current state of Mustang High School, with only the buildings currently in place, MHS is at 73% occupancy. Projects from the 2017 bond issue considerably expanded the capacity of the school with the addition of 6 classrooms, a cafeteria expansion, a science academy, and a new performing arts center that will open later this year. Moving the transportation department and school bus parking from the south side of the high school also freed up space that could be utilized in the future so that we can continue to provide the world-class education and opportunities that Mustang parents have come to expect. Having one high school makes it possible for the district to offer a great deal more in opportunities, such as advanced placement and specialty classes to our students. If there were 2 high schools, the district would have to make the same courses and extracurricular opportunities available at 2 campuses instead of 1. With 2 campuses, Mustang would not be able to offer students the incredible variety that we can by maintaining just 1 campus. When the AP scholars were recognized recently, many of them mentioned how the size of the school afforded them opportunities they could not have gotten at a smaller school. Also, maintaining 1 campus means that we don't divide the community. Everyone from pre-K through seniors is a Bronco. Very few districts of our size have the opportunity to support the students and programs of 1 high school. Lastly, building a new high school would force our millage target much farther than the 30 millage range to secure enough funds for an additional campus. That said, this is an issue that our long-range planning committee is looking at and will continue to look at moving forward. Anyone who resides inside the 12 square miles of the city limits of Mustang, as indicated by the middle rectangle in the map, can vote in the upcoming election. In addition, anyone who lives within the Mustang Public School District boundary can vote, and this is indicated by the larger outline. In essence, if you have or if you had a school-aged child that would attend Mustang Public Schools based on your address, then you can vote in this election.